Let's stick with COVID-19. That is the big story, and not only in Canada, but around the world. And I want to take a closer look right now at where Italy is. The country remains under complete lockdown. Imagine living there. It is the worst hit country outside of China. For more on how Italy is handling this pandemic, our Chase team has reached a great guest, former Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi. He is in Florence. He is also a senator, by the way, in the Italian Parliament, and we've got him on the air live right here on CBC News Network. Great to have you on the program, sir. How are you feeling health-wise?
First of all, the first feeling is good for the healthcare for a lot of us, but a lot of tensions because, of course, this is the first time in the history of Italy we are all blocked in our houses. And that means that is the symbol of the great tragedy of that pandemic. My message in the last week around the world and also to you now is please don't underestimate this great problem, this terrible problem, because this is a virus and we cannot block the virus at the border, at the frontier. This is a problem for all the world, I think, for the next 3, 4, maybe 6 months. So we have to act now, to react, and maybe we have 3 very important things to do. The first is close the schools, the gym, the museum, the stadium. Please, I'm Italian. I know what difficulties to block the sport, to block soccer in Italy or all the sport around the world. But this is the priority. The second point is use technology, because we can track all the people who have problems. And the third, of course, is thinking about recovery in economy for the next months and the next years.
You are saying this is a warning. Does that mean you've learned the lesson because Italy failed?
I think, of course, Italy decided at the beginning to block the direct planes from China to Milano and Roma. And that gave to us the idea, okay, we block the direct plane, the problem is solved. Now, unfortunately, we didn't block that. And now we became the worst in terms of number of infected after China. I think Italy was the first, but now there are a lot of problems everywhere in Europe. For example, if you think the first days, the cross of number of people infected in Spain, unfortunately, is the same, maybe is worse than Italy. So Spain, France, UK, Germany, this virus arrives everywhere. Of course, my message is please consider what happened in our cities. For example, in the first days, we think, okay, this is time to react. There is a virus and we organize great events in public. But this is a correct answer in case of terrorist attack. Not in case of virus. We organize public events in the cities, particularly in Milano, but not only in Milano, and that event, unfortunately, created the perfect climate for virus to spread. So my message is be prudent, because you have 10 days, 12 days, 8 days of anticipated. You are a little better than us in this situation. If we don't understand now, it's time to act, you risk to become worse than us in the next 2 weeks.
Senator Renzi, we know that Italy has plans in place for natural disasters. We know there are plans in place, as you mentioned, for terrorist acts. Why do you think in your country there was no plan for a pandemic?
No, I think really Italy is a very special country for the fight against, for example, terrorism or other accidents, because we as Italians, we haven't in the past terrorist attack as in France or in Germany or in Spain. About pandemic, we have a very good system of healthcare because the expectation of life in Italy is the #2 around the world after Japan. So we have a very good quality of life. But maybe we cannot able, not only as Italians, but as Europeans, to imagine that coronavirus should become a pandemic. Just to make an example, when I was Prime Minister in 2014, I remembered a lot of discussion with the President Obama about the risk of pandemic about Ebola. And I remember a lot of discussion between G7, with, of course, with our friends, Canadian friends, G20, a lot of international meeting about that point. In this case, this is my impression, my humble impression, the leaders around the world don't understand the necessity to create an emergency plan. So I think now, today, the G7 leader will organize a conference call, and this is very important, because the plan in Italy, we can improve, of course, but the problem is not simply Italy. The problem, unfortunately, is the war. And that my suggestion is use the technology. Because example of South Korea's, for example, South Korea's reaction is very good. They use the mobile to check every infected people and use big data and artificial intelligence to create a strategy of contest. So coronavirus is very dangerous, but we can fight against coronavirus. The message is respect the law and try to block the spread.
I appreciate the message. Italy, you mentioned, has one of the highest longevities globally. Right now, with coronavirus, Italy has the highest mortality rate of any country, not something to be proud of. You were a prime minister yourself. What is your message to your current Prime Minister, Giuseppe Conte?
I think now everyone, we have to work with the current Prime Minister, Professor Conte, to fight against the coronavirus. So the first message is a national unity to defend our country, a great investment in healthcare, particularly to create new places for hospitals. Because where is the problem of coronavirus? The problem of coronavirus is that if they arrived all together in the hospitals, because the spread is so speed, the problem is the lack of places for the people in hospital. So the second message I gave, and I will continue to give, is exactly that. Invest a lot of money to create emergencies rooms to block the spread or to guarantee to the people, particularly to old people, because, and this is the third message, is, Roma, the capital of Italy, was created according to tradition with a great story. A guy, Enea, saved his father and his old father. I think for our generation, this is time to make the same. Save the parents and the grandparents, because this corona dies, particularly the people, the old people. I believe altogether in Italy we will win, but this is important also for Canada, will be a long fight. It's not a fight of 2 days, 3 days, 1 week. We wait for a terrible 2020 and we will win.
I hope you're right, that we will win. It's just a matter of when. But I have this final question for you, Senator Renzi. You're in Florence. I mean, the Uffizi Gallery is in Florence, one of the most magnificent museums in the world. People flock there to Florence. How is life there now?
Is unbelievable, because it's the places are full of tourists in the past now are places of silence. Nobody out of Uffizzi's gallery. This is Palazzo Vecchio, the place of the mayor of Florence. No people, silence, of course, no tourists. So it's very sad. It's very sad because we are used to welcome a lot of tourists, and we are used to stay together. For us as Italian people, it's very normal to shake a hand, to stay in the square, to share a lot of social moments. So it's the expression is that, very sad. But I think if we act now, we will come back as soon as possible. This is Venice. You saw before Roma. Yesterday, the Pope Francis, walked alone in the center of the Roma in downtown. I believe that it's unbelievable for us, but I think it's the right measure. We need closing the cities today because this virus is a new enemy. I hope in the science. I want to believe in the science, and I know in the next weeks we will arrive, in the next months probably we will arrive to vaccination, but for the moment we have to fight also in our houses.
We will certainly be watching for any developments on vaccinations. I want to thank you for your time, sir, and I wish you health.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and good luck. Best wishes.
Matteo Renzi is a former Italian prime minister. He is a current senator, and we reached him in beautiful Florence, Italy.